It has been unseasonably warm up here in New York City and in Massachusetts when I've been back to visit. It was over 60 degrees even during the second half of November in New York City. Very warm in Massachusetts as well. So I knew that the absurd, sarcastic claims about how cold it is and how climate change isn't an issue were going to be delayed a little bit. But now that it's actually gotten colder, Lewis, there is no time being wasted by the right-wing media in starting to sarcastically talk about how could we possibly have global warming? It's so cold out. This morning, for example, checked out drudgereport.com. The headline, Lewis, is Arctic Blast. Arctic was misspelled, interestingly enough, but let's put that aside just for a second and focus on the content rather than the spelling, if I may. Arctic blast, minus 40 degrees Midwest, deep freeze across western half of the nation. And usually the time for really misplaced implications and sarcastic headlines about global warming starts much earlier in the winter, but it just was unseasonably warm. So it kind of threw a monkey wrench into that, Lewis. Every time I see these, I go through the same thought process. I say, okay, first of all, it's winter. So it makes sense that in certain parts of the United States, the parts that have seasons, it's going to be cold. That's not really evidence for or against anything. But number two, climate change is not just unseasonably warm temperatures. And really, we need to be using the term climate change, not global warming, Lewis, because I think the connotations of global warming are much more susceptible to sarcastic headlines like Arctic blast while Congress debates climate change, global warming, or whatever the case may be. And third, it actually has been much warmer in much of the country this in the last few months, unseasonably warm. But in any case, these 3-month cycles don't really mean that much when we're talking about broader climate change.
No, what we're talking about is how much ice is melting at the poles, how much warmer is the seawater becoming, how much warmer are the oceans. Education is very important. I mean, there's millions of people out there who are constantly saying there's no such thing and consider themselves experts on the matter, even though they are really completely clueless about the whole thing.
Well, simultaneously, at the same time that Drudge Report is running sarcastic headlines, misspelled headlines about how cold it is, the National Academy of Science says that these changes in climate and the results of those changes could occur within decades or even sooner, and that they're becoming more and more concerning for scientists. James White, who's a professor of geological sciences at University of Colorado in Boulder, says the most challenging changes are the abrupt ones, and also saying that Tony Barnosky, who's a professor at University of California, Berkeley, saying things that people in this room will be around to see could be the effects of climate change. And, you know, even if this is wrong, right, Lewis, let's say for a second that the consensus among scientists is completely wrong. This is a cyclical change in climate and temperature, and because humans have only been observing climate for a much shorter period of time than that which there have been these cycles, we just can't tell. Let's assume that's the case. Why take the risk? Humans have been wrong in the past about any number of assumptions that have been made. And it seems in either case, it would be good to get off of fossil fuels. It would be good to get onto renewable energy. It would be good to consume less energy. All of these things would be good, even taking aside for a second, putting aside for a second, the climate change aspects.
Oh, well, I guess not if you're a Republican for some reason. I guess somehow these are all bad things in that case, and I'm struggling to understand it. But maybe, I don't know, maybe they're all vested in Halliburton or something.